This is Adam Taxon, main administrator for the Daily Beck page on Facebook. What I'm going to play for you here is a little longer than I usually do, but I think it's a really important point that Glenn Beck is getting out about the contrast between what Obama said at his Barnard commencement speech a few days ago and the reality of his having an enemies list that goes way beyond anything of Richard Nixon. The hypocrisy is just tremendous, and I think Len, Stu, and Pat do a very good job of explaining it. So a little longer than usual. It's about 5.5 minutes here about Obama's enemies list.
Former Governor Mitt Romney and President Obama, Team Obama, named and shamed 8 private citizens for donating to former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney. The Blaze reported this 2 weeks ago. Frank Vandersloot, one of the 8 men detailed by the president's Truth Team, is discovering what it means to be on the president's enemy list. Vandersloot has a wellness products company called Melaleuca Inc. out of Idaho Falls, Idaho. For the last 26 years, the Wall Street Journal's Kimberly A. Strassel reports, by all accounts, it's a healthy and prosperous company, something of a rarity in this current economy. But that doesn't matter to members of Team Obama. Vandersloot gave $1 million to the pro-Romney super PAC, Restore Our Future, and that was enough to land him a spot on Obama's enemies list. Now, think of this.
Think of this especially from the perspective that Bill Maher, who is an abhorrent human being, is a piece of crap, donated $1 million to an Obama PAC.
Right. And you're not going out and targeting Bill Maher. You're not going out. And
Romney's
Bill Maher
not saying anything about
Bill Maher is a public figure.
Yes.
Nobody's going after Bill Maher. I mean, we make comments, but we make comments whether he gives money or not. But he's a public figure. The 8 donors are wealthy individuals, according to the president, quote, with less than reputable records, end quote. Some of them even, quote, have been on the wrong side of the law, end quote.
This is
according to the president's Keeping the GOP Honest website. As for Vandersloot, he is a, quote, litigious, combative, and bitter foe of the gay rights movement, end quote. But that's not all. This is where it starts to get dicey. About a week after the post, a man named Michael Wolf contacted the Bonneville County Courthouse in Idaho Falls in search of court records regarding Mr. Vandersloot. Specifically, Mr. Wolf wanted all of the documents dealing with Mr. Vandersloot's divorces, as well as a case involving a dispute with a former Melaleuca employee. Mr. Wolf sent a fax to the clerk's office, which we have obtained, listing 4 cases he was after. He later would send a second fax asking for 3 further court cases dealing with either Melaleuca or Mr. Vandersloot. Mr. Wolf listed only his name and private cell phone number. Wait, the Blaze reports. An anonymous investigator contacted court officials and requested copies of documents dealing with Vandersloot's divorce cases? That sounds familiar. Some digging revealed that Mr. Wolf was, until a few months ago, a law clerk on the Democratic side of the Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations. This is incredible. Just this, but wait, there's more. His newfound work, the ID written out at the top of his faxes, identified them as coming from Glenn Simpson. That's the name of the former Wall Street Journal reporter in 2009 who founded a D.C. company that performs private investigative work. A website for the company, Fusion GPS, describes itself as providing strategic intelligence with expertise in areas like politics. In other words, what is that? Opposition research. You want to take somebody down, you call these people. Although there are no records indicating Fusion or Wolf have been paid by the Democratic National Committee, Strassel notes it is not uncommon to hire a less controversial third party, which then hires the researchers. Frank Vandersloot, Strassel tried to contacting Wolf to ask him about the investigation. It's a legal thing. Wolf was all that Wolf had to say at first. Later, he sent the Wall Street Journal reporter the following statement in an email. Frank Vandersloot is a figure of interest in the debate over civil rights for gay Americans. Now, don't we have the president on record saying that he still doesn't think that homosexuality is a civil right or gay marriage is a civil right.
Well, he's saying that he thinks the states should be handling it, so you'd assume certainly that.
And he has said in the past that it is definitely not a civil right.
Civil right.
As his own record on gay issues amply demonstrates, he is a legitimate subject of public records research into his lengthy history of legal disputes. Well, that's kind of true. Vandersloot has been a figure of interest in the gay rights debate ever since he became the target of liberal bloggers and activists back in January when the first PAC disclosures were released. When activists dug into his past looking for dirt, all they could do was accuse Vandersloot of being a gay-bashing thug. Quote, the 63-year-old has since addressed these accusations, saying that he has many gay friends whom I love and respect and who should have the same freedoms and rights as any other individual. But despite his clarification and rebuttal to his detractors, Team Obama is running with a narrative and accuses the businessman of being a litigious, combative, and bitter foe of the gay rights movement, end quote. When I first learned that President Obama's campaign has singled me out on his enemies list, I knew it was like taping a target on my back, Vandersloot said. But the public beatings and false accusations that followed are no deterrent. These tactics will not work in America, he said, adding that he's contemplating a second donation now. Mm-hmm. This, I don't think, has happened. This is what, when Nixon left office, this is what we promised we would never do. This is what we said was the big problem with Nixon, that's why that's why they broke into Watergate. That's what that is trying to dig up dirt on your enemies. That's what that was. You now no longer have to go break into somebody's house. You can do it. You can break into their email. Sarah Palin. You just hire people to do. This guy is a plumber. That's what the break-in crew, I believe, was called with Watergate. Weren't they called the plumbers? Didn't they call them the plumbers? That's all this is now. The plumbers. And they're going in and trying to get any kind of dirt they can on anybody. I'll tell you something. We have been investigated. We had people go through our garbage. We had investigations going on us that were pretty intense. Thank God that I don't lead a perfect life, but I lead a clean life. They didn't have anything on us.
Had to search through all those Twinkie wrappers. It's difficult to find stuff in your garbage.
Pretty difficult. Mm-hmm. Pretty difficult. Mm-hmm. It's camouflage. All the really bad
strategy.
things, to my lovers and stuff, I write on the inside of Twinkie packages. They'll never find them.